A very good morning to all the honorable dignitaries, esteemed chief guests, respected faculty members, and all our dean fellows. It gives us immense pleasure to extend to you all a very welcome on behalf of SGT FET. We heartily welcome Dr. D Dogra, Pro Vice Chancellor, SGT University, Dr. R.P. Bajpayee, Professor Advisor, SGT University, Mr. Amit Das, Chief Learning Officer, SGT University.
We are extremely fortunate to have highly passionate, enthusiastic, determined, focused, and straightforward people from Microsoft among us.
Dear student, this is for you, because everybody want to do fast computing, want to do fast networking, want to do everything just going on the click, and this is possible only with the technical development. You got what is called the Pentium processor with the co-processor with the transistor gate size of 35 nanometer, and this has limitations. And therefore, a lot of tricks of the trade, how to channel the data has been done, and this has been assigned and designed for the application so that you can do faster image processing, you can do the faster communication, you can store the images with a huge capacity. This technology is going further down, and I tell you, very soon you will be getting a new processor with about 10 to 15 nanometer gate size, which will have an enormous capacity. Your pen drive and everything will change, and this will change the data structure, this will change the data management, and so on. You remember old days, not old days, about 5 years back when these Windows were launched by the Microsoft, there were a lot of other technologies were used in parallel processing. You have a lot of data coming, and then you can store, you can channel in a particular way. But now this is all changed and changing. And therefore, student, if this country has to change, you have to change. Means you have to read every day what are the future endeavors and how the technology trend is changing. You have to practice so that you all become innovators. You all become innovators. Time has gone when you need a language, C, C++. This is no longer required. Now it is altogether a different domain you have to learn and you have to practice. Today we have got very, very important people, and I am sure they will tell you a lot of tricks of the trade, how to handle these, these technologies, future technologies, today's technology, so that you are the best fit for the coming industry. And we are very happy with the government initiative. You got e-commerce, e-business, startup, Skill India, and all that. And if you have these tactics and the tricks, then you will be the best fit for the market.
Now, I'd like to briefly introduce Mr. Venkatesh Sarvasiddhi, Head Academics, Initiative Microsoft India. Mr. Venkatesh Sarvasiddhi heads the academic initiatives at Microsoft Corporation in India, which includes closely working with the educational ecosystem. This also involves skilling youth, driving innovation training the youth on various technology areas under the character of Digital India, and strive towards public policy initiatives and changes, especially in education sector, to impact student learning methodologies like policy to implement latest Microsoft technologies under the curriculum of higher education. Now, I'd like to invite Mr. Venkatesh Sarvasiddhi to give a welcome note on Imagine Cup. Please, sir.
Just to set the energy, I just want to know, few things. One of the things of the Imagine Cup this year is to empower the students to build on their own ideas, their own projects, their ideas, and take them further to a startup level. So across the world, we conduct the Imagine Cup. We have close to 190 countries which participate in this every year. And out of these 190 countries, every country selects its own best team, and that team is funded by Microsoft, and they are taken to Seattle every year. And at Seattle, these startups, not only these students and the student startup not only engage with each other from the other countries and learn, but also they get fantastic funding opportunities and also the decent amount of prize monies to the tune of 100K USD. And also an opportunity to meet none other than Satya Nadella, the CEO, and it is his very close project. Satya's close project is Imagine Cup. So he engages and he spends almost a day out of his schedule to talk to all these Imagine Cup participants and the winners. So that's how it's going to be. So how many in this group want to start something of their own once they graduate from the college? Can you please raise your hands? That's nice. And how many of you want to join some technology companies and work for them? None, too few. Okay. And how many want to go for further education in terms of doing masters, like an MBA or Master of Science? And how many of you straight away want to get married after this? Because there are a lot of hands still. That's not a bad option, though. Yeah, you can get married and still study, right? So, I want the session to be very interactive. And feel free to ask questions, feel free to interrupt at any point in time. I just want to give you one particular challenge right now and see who can really answer my question. How many technical engineering and technical colleges are present in India? The right answer is Vibor here? Vibor, can we have some goodies? Yeah. So right answer will win a goodie. Don't use search engines right now. How many technical engineering colleges or technical colleges are present in India? Any guesses? Any answer? Yes. 70,000 or more. Your answer is wrong. 10,000. Again, wrong answer. Guys, can we I have a nice goodie here to give out the first Microsoft t-shirt to the lucky winner. So one more last chance. 20,000. No, the gift remains with me. So you're close to it, but not appropriate. So there are close to 16,000 technical institutions in India, which includes your engineering, sciences, and polytechnic and all. So if I put those 40,000 educational institutions which are present, they are clubbed into how many universities? Private and public or deemed, all put together. These 40,000 institutions are clubbed into X number of universities. 700. Who said 700? You're very close. 800. We should give it to her. She's been trying for long. She wins the next goodie. My next question to you. What is the intake capacity, number of seats available for engineers in India every year? Who said 17 here? Okay, come on. I think that guy wins the prize. We have 17 lakh student enrollment capacity in India, 11 lakh students enrolled into engineering. My next question is very interesting. It will open your eyes. How many jobs are available in India? 60,000? Who said 3 lakhs? You win it, come on. Look at the scenario the Indian current ecosystem is, with 40,000 institutions, 16,000 of them are technical, and then you have 17 lakh capacity, and 11 lakh students are enrolled. Only 3 lakh jobs are available in the market, 3 to 3.5 lakhs. And this year, with a lot of changes happening in US, and also a lot of changes happening in Europe, you have seen that the large tech companies of India, the Indian tech service providers, Infy, Wipro, TCS, HCL, Cognizant, Tech Mahindras, have actually reduced their intake. So the number of jobs are going to come down to another roughly 2 lakhs or 1.5 to 2 lakhs. Infosys, which used to hire roughly around 24,000 every year, has just hired 5,000. And it is not a topic of fun. You should listen to it very carefully, because you guys would be passing out in the next year, maybe next to next year. The job scenario is not that great, or the number of jobs provided by the service providers is not a great opportunity. So who will create the next wave of jobs? The next wave of jobs would be created by startups. There are a few startups which are growing. There are a few startups which may fall down, because that's a part of the journey. But the next few years, certainly for the next 10 years, the majority of the hiring will happen from the startup ecosystem. And Imagine Cup is a competition which will empower you either to create something of your own, As your professor and the leadership from the SGT has said, when you start building something of your own, you are either creating value for yourself and also to the community. So from a job seeker, you become a job creator. So maybe even if 5 people out of this room get a motivation to start something, you can create some 50 jobs outside the market. So startup ecosystem is building up extremely, it's becoming extremely important. And top institutions like IITs and IISCs and BATES of the world have started changing their philosophy of placement hiring. Today, they look at 60% of wave coming from startups and 40% from the tech service providers. In this process, there are a few startups which will go up, there are a few startups which are stagnant, there are a few startups which may fall. Because startup has a risk and a reward ecosystem, but however, the ecosystem would be of startups which will be hiring in a big number. So I would like you guys to take this day very seriously. I don't know, in your college life, you may take certain days very lightly, certain days very seriously, but today ensure that there are a lot of people, even from the startups who are coming in the second half, students like you, of your age group, who started something of their own. Ask questions, ask about things which you have certain notions around startups, get that clarity. And I hope Imagine Cup and this particular event would be helpful in changing your perception to look at startups, either starting something of your own or looking for a startup to join and do some extremely exciting work. So Microsoft empowers the startups in a big way. Imagine Cup is one of the forums wherein we encourage the startups from the student community. Similarly, we have Microsoft Accelerator, which empowers a lot of startups and helps them in certain stages, either for funding or for helping them on their growth path or even on their advisory side. So we have very interesting stuff to share through the day. Hope it's an actively engaging session. And we will continue the momentum of goodies and rewards, but I really want each of you to open up yourself, be more proactive, speak out. Language is not a constraint. If somebody wants to even speak in Hindi and other languages, we'll be more than happy. Okay, but ask your questions and ensure that it's a knowledgeable session for you. Take care, guys, and wish you all the best.
Chief guest. Vinnie Jauhari works as a director, education advocacy at Microsoft Corporation India Limited. She is responsible for education initiatives at Microsoft. She leads and manages strategic engagements in higher education and K-12 and also works on policy issues related with education. She works on programs leading to capacity development and teachers through initiatives in pedagogical innovation. These are both in public and private sector.
You are the leaders of tomorrow. You are our hope, and you are our agents of change, champions of change. So each one of you should work, learn, contribute, and make the most of this wonderful opportunity, because there are very few fortunate people in India who have access to education, who are blessed to have access to opportunities as well. So this morning, over the next 15-20 minutes, I will walk you through what are the changes that are happening, what are the opportunities that are opening up for all of you, which are led by technology investments, and also I'll talk about what Microsoft does in education. So if you look at the world, there have been, right from the very beginning, there have been various stages of evolution of technology. So initially, if you look at the early years, so steam, water, and mechanical energy were harvested, and they led to industrial revolution. We had phases that were led by developments in electronics technology, and we saw a lot of entrepreneurship being driven by semiconductor technology, electronic circuits. Now we are talking of digital revolution. So we are all impacted by the fast change of technology that's happening. Most today, there are fine lines being diminished between various areas. So whether it's biosciences, whether it's pharmaceuticals, materials, electronics, you name it, and we're talking about Internet of Things. In this kind of a scenario, we're seeing that ICT is playing a major role. So whether it's retail, whether it's manufacturing, banking, electronics, PC world, the ICT components are playing a major role and driving new jobs. There was a research that was published in Harvard Business Review, And it talks about that if we were to have, if we look at two strands where an organization has wonderful leaders, and on the other hand, if you look at investments in digital technologies, those firms stand to have higher revenues and more profits where the leadership capacity is matched by competency in the technology area. Today, we could never think of organizations which are multi-billion-dollar companies. I mean, who could ever have thought that Flipkart, in a span of about 6 to 7 years, grew from about few $100,000 of investment to $1 billion enterprise. I mean, you look at companies like Facebook, Amazon, you look at so many big companies that have risen because they leverage not only technology, but they leverage instances around supply chain management. So digital is the key. Today, if you have to reach to millions of people, people are not just banking on conventional advertising strategies, but they are using the digital medium to impact the marketplace. So, and most of the CEOs, when they are hiring talent for the organizations, they have multiple areas to be concerned about there. But one of the key challenges that they face is that how do they use technology effectively to kind of reach out to the marketplace? So which are the technologies that are impacting the world? So if we look at out of all the technologies that exist, especially in the area of ICT domain, mobile technologies are becoming extremely important because we are looking at a world of convenience, we are looking at accessibility anytime. So whatever applications, and most of the online business gets consumed through applications that get developed. So whether it's about consumption of music, whether it's about buying products, whether it's about going through training programs, are all driven by the applications. If we look at social, people may not know to use other technologies, but we're using multiple social platforms. How many of you have heard about Yammer? Okay, I see a few hands. Yammer is a social community that Microsoft promotes. So we have, for example, for teachers, we have about 10,000 plus teachers across multiple institutions who are there, who share their best practices. It's a safe medium to communicate and share one's ideas. Kaizala is another application that is being tested in terms of social engagement amongst multiple communities. Cloud is another whole new dimension that opens a world of opportunity. Today, when an entrepreneur begins to invest in a startup, he wants to invest in technology. He wants to buy servers that may be very expensive to maintain. And those of you who know, when you buy a server, you may spend, let's say, X $1,000 to make an upfront purchase. But then over a 5-year period, you will spend almost 50% or 100% of that amount paying for electricity bills and also maintaining the servers and later upgrading them as well. Cloud offers a great opportunity where you don't have to make those multi-million-dollar investments in servers, but you can use cloud and adopt the pay-as-per-you-use model. So for an entrepreneur, right from day one, when you are setting up a tech-based startup, you don't have to make that investment and you can leverage cloud. Therefore, going forward, cloud offers phenomenal opportunities for entrepreneurship, for future jobs, for programming, for landing solutions. Because if you look at even the Prime Minister's vision for India, where he says that we have to embrace digital. He talks about making citizenship services accessible to people, right? Everybody needs to have an Aadhaar card. You could have access to multiple opportunities that the government is offering. And all those services are being facilitated by using the cloud infrastructure. And likewise, big data as well. I mean, huge, huge opportunity. Today, data is the biggest asset. In India, we are still not mindful. We still loosely share our data with people. But you would have read in the newspapers about accounts from State Bank of India that were being hacked, right? You've heard about that. You've heard that Yahoo mails or even Gmails were being hacked as well. Now, this is serious. And wherever we go today, everybody asks for a mobile phone, your email, and there are a lot of data that is being exchanged. But going forward, this is something to care about. And I will give you examples of how this data can contribute immensely. If we look at, I'll give you 3 examples, and you could relate to them. The first one is that of, the government spends huge amount of money on government schools because education is a fundamental right. And the taxpayers' money goes in subsidizing that education for the masses. And what happens is that a substantial proportion of students fail and do not move forward to higher education, because in higher education, out of all the students who graduate from a school, they do not join higher education because opportunities are limited. So Microsoft researchers have used machine intelligence. Like they have captured data for thousands of students in the state of Andhra Pradesh, looked at their socio-economic backgrounds, they have looked at their academic performance, and they have been able to predict that which students will do well and which students will end up not passing the exams or will have challenge in clearing in moving forward in their studies. So based on this pilot, when they used all the student data to do this predictive modeling and zero in on those students who needed help. So the school administration and the teachers worked with the students so that they could be coached well, they could be provided opportunities, and those students could do well in their lives. So machine intelligence you can actually at a state level, at a school level, at a classroom level, a teacher using the student data, can actually predict what kind of support is required and what kind of corrective mechanisms can be taken. There are commercial applications. You'll be happy to know that Microsoft Research in India pioneered some of these applications. When one goes for a surgery, for example, right? Everyone wants the surgery to be successful. Is that right? When you go to a hospital, you would want to come back cured, and your surgery needs to be successful. So in India, for example, there are these LASIK surgeries that happen. Right, you've heard about LASIK surgeries that correct the vision of the eye. So there are sometimes failures, and when you're talking a population of hundreds of millions of people, even 1% failure rate could lead to, is a huge number, and it can cause blindness or other challenges as well. So what the researchers have done is they worked with the doctors and patients. They took their data, did the predictive modeling, and now they're able, when they captured the patient's data before the surgery, with all his medical condition, his age, and whatever problems he's having, they can predict to 99.9% accuracy that whether the surgery will be successful or not. Imagine if you were to take that decision, and if you know whether the surgery will be successful or not, how impactful it will be. So globally, hospitals in Europe, hospitals in US, they are approaching the Indian researchers if they could use similar models, because in other countries, they use insurance money to provide medical aid to the people. So imagine what kind of an impact it can have on people's lives, and also in terms of financial commitments as well. Also in agriculture, there have been pilots in Andhra Pradesh in collaboration with the government, where they have looked at climate changes and sowing cycles, and when is the right time to sow the seeds so that the farmer's yield could be maximized. So there are huge opportunities for using data across multiple segments. So if you look at employment, right, many of you raised your hands. And when we look at the job market, right, as Venkatesh shared with you, there is a huge gap between the students who graduate and the job opportunities which exist. And most of the skill gaps are immense. Technology areas, communication skills, multidisciplinary thinking are all areas that need more attention. I would also like to talk about, in terms of the opportunities that exist, whether it's mobility, cloud, Microsoft has made massive investments in infrastructure in India. So some of the world's largest data centers have been created here. That offers huge opportunities and opportunities for research in India. We also have a curriculum that is available for students. So while you are doing your engineering degree, and as we know that ICT plays a big component, you have courses that are available as a part of Imagine Academy. So you could take up opportunities that could lead to data sciences specialization. You could have opportunities in technology area where you could, for instance, develop opportunities on app development and also on programming. We also have a tie-up with edX. edX is an open platform where there are about 70 to 80 courses that range from leadership to management to technology areas that you could embrace. So there are courses that you could go through, but also go through secure certification as programming, computer science curriculum. So make the most of this opportunity, and through the day, my colleagues will share multiple opportunities around various areas. So wish you all the best, and thank you.
Flipkart, Facebook, etc. and the world we'll be stepping into later. Now, I'd like to invite Ms. Simran Dawar, Product Marketing Manager for Education, to flip your class with Surface Window. Please, ma'am.
The Windows and Devices team in education. So Flip Your Class with Surface is a program we've been running in several engineering institutes such as IITs, NITs, and we introduce how the latest Windows devices can change the way we learn and can change the way we teach. So this program has been introduced to IITs such as Madras, Bombay, Guwahati, and with this session, I want to introduce to you the device that is changing the way people are teaching, professors are teaching. It's called the Surface Pro 4. It's Microsoft's own device. So if, by a show of hands, if you could help me understand how many of you have heard of this device? That's a good bunch. I'll show you this device, how it looks like. This is the Surface Pro 4, and this is the main USP of that device. Basically, it comes with a Surface Pen, so I can write on the device. So for example, anything I'm making here, it's showing on my screen, right? So it helps teachers in explaining concepts very simply. Anything that you want to explain through the presentation, that can be explained right there itself on the device, instead of the teacher moving between the blackboard or the device, right? And what about for students? How do you think it's useful for students? Right, so the answer over here was that it's easier for us to take notes. Let me take you through how it's really good for you to take notes. So this is how technology has been changing in the past. We started off with basic pen and paper. And internet, when it came in the 1990s, that's when it completely disrupted education, right? Anything that we wanted to do, we could just go online and search for it. Or most of our research papers are now using databases from online or Google or Wikipedia, right? So internet completely changed the way we started learning and teaching. But the next big thing is one-to-one learning, where each student has a laptop and the teacher is teaching through the laptop. So this is what is next. It's the digital classroom, right? Anything that you see in the class whether it's the blackboard, whether it's the pen or the paper or the laptop, tablet, everything can be replaced with just one device. Why? Because when you have to explain concepts, you write it down on this device, So while I'm presenting, I'm also simultaneously annotating, so it makes teaching simpler. When the teacher is talking, I can take down notes, and I can easily convert them to text. Again, making learning very easy. Anything I see from the internet, I can simply copy it down to this device. Because it's a laptop, I can use all the laptop features that I normally do in a Windows 10 or a Windows 8 device, and annotate on top of that. So for example, if I have a combustion engine diagram, and I have to explain that, or I have to learn which are the different parts of a combustion engine, how does it work, I can simply annotate on that while explaining the concept to the teachers or to the students, and it's more seamless, right? When you're trying to learn, when you're trying to teach, everything, instead of dealing with different pieces of technology, you're just dealing with one device. It makes everything a lot easier. So we see what happens in the classroom are these key things: reading, writing, and presenting. So collaboration, a lot of devices will not enable that for you. Whereas you'll see this huge divide here. So mainly if you're using a tablet or an iPad, you can consume on that device, but you will not be able to create something on that device. You'll not be able to collaborate. Stephen, okay, Stephen here will try writing on the device and tell us how smooth the experience is.
Okay, fine. So I'll say Stephen, sign me. It's very smooth. I'll write my Twitter account.
So you'll see Stephen is writing like this, right? And most of the tablets, we're writing like that.
You can follow me, right? On Twitter.
But it actually has a palm rejection technology, so I can actually use my palm.
For the introduction of Surface Pro, OneNote software, and a lot more. Thank you again, ma'am. We are highly obliged. It's time to introduce another legend, Mr. Ashish Gupta, Senior Product Marketing Manager for Education. After completing his graduation from Delhi College of Engineering, Ashish led the ERP SAP and implementation projects before switching to business research and consulting. After 7 years in Microsoft across diverse portfolio of roles, he recently joined India team from Dubai, where he was leading the growth and transformation strategy for Microsoft Middle East and Africa. So please do the honor and enlighten our students with your experience and knowledge. Please, sir.
The world is changing. That's something I think shouldn't be much emphasized on. That's very tangible. Remember those days when it was antenna shaking to get the video, to now video buffering. When we were talking about Bhaiya address batana to everybody having the GPS device right now. From chithi I had to now these pings that keep happening there on mobile. The change is everywhere. The change is very tangible. What is not tangible here, I think what we really need to be careful about is the space at which this change is happening. 44 zettabytes of data. Huge number. What is zeta here? Guys, I'm talking about something 10 to the power 21. That's huge. But even more staggering and astonishing is where this is all coming from. From 4.4 zettabytes out there just in 2013, the pace at which this change is happening is truly, truly astonishing. In this world where, as you probably know, the devices have overtaken the number of people, there is more data being produced than it could be consumed any moment. Technology where it has led to this disruption in our personal and professional life. What do we need to do to remain productive? But wait, before I even get to the concept of being productive, why it is even necessary? We keep hearing about these big words like digital transformation. We keep hearing about the cloud ecosystem. What really is at stake here? You might be wondering, we are working, we are studying, there are all these years we passed on as we float into our professional lives as well. To answer this question, and please remember the goodies concept we came in, all the time you would have the goodies out there, okay? To answer this very question And I would love to have the energy, the seriousness, the interaction, because after this session, there is a very important takeaway that I would want to leave you guys with. What is really at stake? So to answer this question, can you take a guess? Out of the class of 1955 Fortune 500 companies, how many are still alive in that list? Fortune 500, big names, super high revenues and everything. All right, it was very astonishing for me to know, so I'm kind of not expecting an answer, though the goodies are there. Less than 12%, I'm talking about 61 companies out of that global 500, Fortune 500 list. If there is this, so Jack Welch put it best when he said, when the rate of change of outside is happening at a faster pace than the rate of change of inside, the end is near. Guys, your survival is at stake here. This transformation is happening. We need to get on the bandwagon. I'm going to tell you some amazing Microsoft productivity solutions. We started already with Simran there, thinking in the digital ink, bringing the surface and how it changes the entire ecosystem. I'm going to go there, and I'll just stay with me. But before that, I want to put up a bit of a story to kind of bring this in context. All right, the British Empire, what's it doing in a Microsoft session when we are talking about productivity? This is basically to set the context. I was thinking about our learning systems, just reflecting the kind of education we are having in our schools and institutes as of now. Where this is basically coming from, you could take any point there in the past, but if you just see our system the way it is, it would be very intuitive. It came in from that 300 years ago, the last and the largest empire on the planet Earth. Now imagine for me, for a moment, running this world without any computers, without any telephone networks. There is handwritten data that you take from continent to continent traveling on ships. Not possible, right? Incredulous. The Victorians actually did it. They created this global computer which was made up of lots of people. This was called the bureaucratic administrative machine. To drive this machine, they needed lots of people, and they produced another machine, which was called the schools, and an elaborated version as the colleges. So the linkage that's happening here, to drive that bureaucratic machine, we had this machine of schools set up to do those basic tasks. Essentially, these people that were coming out of these schools, the institutes, needed to have three basic things in common. The ability to read, being able to have this beautiful handwriting, being able to do some algebra, arithmetic out there in your heads. And of course, there is the elaborated version. You would say, no, I know more than algebra. I know you do. It's about the concept. It's about the premise where this education system kind of flows in. They were so identical that if you put somebody from New Zealand, transpose somebody back from Canada, the function would continue like that. These Victorians, these amazing engineers, produce such a robust system that has continued producing these identical set of people. Stay with me, guys. This system continued producing these identical set of people even now when the machine is gone. What are we doing? So as a reflection, what are we doing producing these identical set of people when the empire is long gone? The schools, we know as of now, need to really transform. We don't have an option here. The machinery, the system for which these students were built up no longer applies to the kind of modern student we have there with us. What is this modern student? Guys, I'm showing you a mirror here. I'm coming to this generation now. I'm talking about the millennials. Always mobile, always moving. You don't want to have this restriction of location being able to share the knowledge across. You need to collaborate early, often, and always. You have all your Snapchats, your WhatsApp, your mediums ready. You cannot think about that age where education was a privilege, where knowledge was hoarded. Was even my age when I was there 13 years ago. So to get this entire picture clear, look how the things are fitting in together here. We saw this world where the data is moving at a staggeringly high pace, like those 40 zettabytes and all those huge numbers. We saw our education system, which was essentially put into place to cater to the machinery that was there for 300 years ago. And then we have you, the modern students, who have entirely different set of needs. Schools, as we know, again, need to really transform. We at Microsoft believe that education is the single most important priority for the investment in the future of the country. We have some innovative tools out there for education. I'm more talking from a productivity standpoint. And I'll go through some of them to kind of, if the time permits, let's also have a demo to get you a real feel. I would want you, after the session, to be able to, you get into your final year projects, assignments, start using this technology, guys. There is going to be a wonderful takeaway at the end of the session. You need to stay with me and interact as much as you want there. So, innovative tools for education. Look how this Microsoft ecosystem comes together, how our vision, our mission. So Microsoft shares this very simple vision. Empower every person, every organization on this planet to achieve more. Let me talk about the two personas, the two persons that are super relevant in terms of, in the context of education here. The educators. In terms of the limitations out there for the educators, it's pretty clear. Educators would want to reach out to these students who are mobile, who have some restrictions to join the class. When I say they are not in the class, I'm not talking about for the guys who are bunking the class. Let's be honest here. I'm talking about some definite restrictions, some handicap, not being able to get to those people. The four walls of a classroom cannot be the handicap for this education to really flow. Providing an integrated learning experience. You step yourself in the shoes of your professor. It's about providing you what's latest, and we kind of collaborate. Guys, if I go back 13 years, doing those final years projects, I remember I once tried to chase, so I'm a graduate there, again from Delhi. I did my engineering, final year, doing the presentations, tried to chase the professors. Maybe a phone call sometimes late in the evening, it didn't work. There is this compelling need to collaborate. You guys are empowered, and Microsoft provides you all these wonderful solutions. Let's take a couple of scenarios there. We saw virtual classroom. So virtual classroom is something that we strongly believe could empower an educator to reach out to any student, irrespective of this physical handicap of where they are. It's about a personalized coaching that could be provided to these students. And there are these solutions out there from Microsoft. We have Skype for Business. How do you get to these solutions as well? Look, I'm very mindful, like there are these big solutions somebody says on the stage. You go back and you're wondering, hey, how does it connect together? I'm going to be there with you. I'm going to give you this key. And I would be very happy if it kind of makes difference in your college life and what you achieve out there in your final years. So I'm going to go there. Let me talk about a few solutions here. Skype for Business. It gives you this amazing medium to IM, voice, video, do the web conferencing. We have these HD functionalities in Skype for Business, which basically means you could share anything and everything out there on this media. There is Skype for connectivity, so whosoever is having another Skype, you guys could just connect together on the same platform, and you could share out there with your professors, your teachers, your co-groups, anything that kind of helps you collaborate there. We have SharePoint. So I'm not sure how familiar you are there. Have you ever got a chance to explore the power of SharePoint? But guys, this is your most secure medium out there on the web. It's your personal website that you create here. And mind you, there is no coding. When I used to hear these speeches out there during those college days, the thing that would come in mind, wow, okay, an amazing solution. How do I get there? Like, what really happens? SharePoint, yeah, somewhere in the cloud. Let it stay in the cloud. No, you need to ground it. You go and test it. How it just eases off the sharing of the information, your assignments, your quizzes, you store there, and it's done. We have Yammer. Yammer where you could even invite external people. So let's say in a collaborative setup where you're getting your final year lectures, there is this need. You hear about a personality outside, you're really impressed. There was no medium before where you could think about collaborating with those people. It's here, Yammer, irrespective of the device, irrespective of the location you are. You just get in there, the person comes in, you exchange notes, it's a collaborative community, it's totally virtual. You don't need to be out there in the four walls of a classroom. Enough of educator. I see all the students here. So what was this educator scenario? That was more for you to step into the shoes of your professor. Step out, guys, be yourselves. Final year, college, aspirations. I saw when Vinnie asked the question about how many of you are even seeking employment, how many of you are looking for some professional degrees afterwards. All these questions keep coming in mind. How do I reach out to these prospective employers? There are all these bigwigs, even Microsoft, in technology. How do I get to these guys? Is it, again, going to be a restriction of the physical media I am? How do I find these engaging educational experiences that's kind of an integrated story together and leave all that apart? How do I express myself? When I say express myself, somebody might just pop in and say, hey, there is PowerPoint. Yeah, let's express ourselves. PowerPoint is great, and we'll see how. But there are these new tools that you really need to explore. But I don't want you, and our mission is not to have you restricted by the medium in which you need to customize yourself to express yourselves. You see a YouTube video. This could be a part of your engaging final year project. You see a pic there. You see some web conference happening. You see a web page. You want to bring it all together. Let's bring it together, guys. This is what, as in the student case scenarios, would be. Digital notebooks, Simran already talked about the power of Surface here. I'm carrying the Surface here, and it's absolutely amazing. To that very relevant question as well, where it wins over, I think it's at the end of the game, it's a question of ROI. Surface gets you the Microsoft ecosystem all together. I'm talking about these amazing tools. There is this OneNote, your digital notebook. What I was talking about, just start using the power of it. You see anything interesting, click, snap, it's out there. You want to have an email you receive from any external audience, anywhere, click, snap, it's out there. OneNote it empowers you to share, to collaborate, to work together, to co-author things there. OneDrive. I wouldn't want you to be surprised in case you didn't hear about OneDrive, guys, but even if it's first, let it be the first. Again, and sorry for transposing myself back to my engineering days, but that's a reality because I wanted to feel your pain, to your aspirations while building these slides together. We used to carry that 1 GB kind of pen drive, and we were lucky, private, to even get that. I had lots of content, and sometimes if that pen drive is not there, I'm done. If I need to build up a presentation, I need to build up a report, assignment, anything, that's done. You have this OneDrive now. Your personal drive out there on cloud, 1 TB. 1 TB of space, you just click and you share with your peers. You, irrespective of the device, be it anything, any device, be it a tablet, be it a phone, you have it, you share, you collaborate. You are the modern student, and this productivity platform is feeding you. And also, I'm sure there are these familiar tools of Word, Power, Excel that you are aware and you must be using. The OneNote, the OneDrive here also gives you this power to edit all these documents in something that's called Office Online. These are your web versions of your familiar Word, Power, Excel points. What is different here, guys? You needed to have a Word setup installed on your computers to be able to use it. You're using one machine today, you go to some other machine, you're lost. No, not any longer. It's as simple, it's a web version. You don't even need any installation going on. You get onto any device, you go there, and to the Office Online, you start using these amazing tools. You can collaborate with your peers. Somebody, for example, you're working on a project and you have your peer group there. Somebody wants to co-author something with you, wants to keep a tab. Hey, this guy, he might ruin the entire presentation. Let him come and co-author these documents with you. There is somebody you want to share the ideas. It kind of all happens there in your office online. And guys, it also includes, now here is where my personal favorite comes in. I kept it there for the last. It also includes something that is called Sway. Anybody heard about Sway so far? Okay, let's look at what this thing is. And I would be very excited. I would feel super privileged if, let's say, after the session, somehow you guys go think about your assignments, be it the final year, your day to work, how you express yourself with this super powerful medium. It's a new digital storytelling app from Microsoft. Storytelling, guys. It's not about just putting a presentation out there. Bring in your story through audio, videos. Hey, you want to get to a place you want to show in your presentation, but how do somebody reaches that place? You want to include the Bing map, the Google map, you could bring it all together. It looks amazing on all the devices. So what I mean here is you create a Sway, and then you get to a tablet, it customizes as well for a tablet. You get to a phone, it customizes. You want to really astonish your professors, you go about it. Now, some of you might be thinking, and it's very obvious, how do we get there? I'm not a coder. Yeah, I did my engineering, but I know what that all about is. There is absolutely no coding involved out there when you're working with Sway. It's as simple, it gets at times intuitive. Enough said, right? Let's maybe take a live look at what this Sway is all about. Bear with me, I'll just get to the media there. There are these amazing templates. So whatever you kind of worked before, you would see in terms of your last Sways that you have edited, there are templates, there are featured Sways. I'll get to those, but let's familiarize ourselves first with the nitty-gritties on how the Sway kind of works in. Simply, we get there, create new. All right. Let's say so let's just look at what all do we have included here. You insert a Sway, you create a Sway through this medium. There is something called cards now on the top. So cards used to be your sections. Very simple, you just bring the card out there to whatever. You have different cards there for image, video, tweet, audio. You just build in your cards as good as like plucking it all together. Let's say there is heading, you bring it, it's kind of done there. But let's take a live shot, how it all kind of comes together. Background, guys. Always on for suggestions. It's as good as you working. It's a shared pair of hands you get from me, but let me maybe kind of guide you a bit there on the start. So you would automatically see some suggestions that kind of come in. Let's maybe get to one of the backgrounds we need to pick. All right, anything that kind of comes in, you have everything to kind of choose in here from. Let's say that's our background, title your Sway. Sway, tell your digital story. Any innovative, creative titles, I'm totally in for it. So guys, let's kind of bring it together. Add a heading. So heading is more about, let's say, we did this startup, and how do we then think about the PowerPoint? It's a new section that kinds of coming in. Let's say I talked about a lot of you, including the YouTubes, the Twitters and all. Let's call it more. Include any multimedia you want. All right, let's get on the multimedia now. So let's say we have this image tab. I'm just moving out there in the order what all brings. Image tab, okay. Let's think about anything as a kind of landmark out there. Any suggestions out there? I'll go with Taj Mahal then. So you see, it's an integrated media. Whatever you think you're seeing there happening live. And I'm not going to keep it live. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm sure you guys could explore everything, as in the cards that are there. But just to kind of give you a feel how it all comes together. By the way, while you're building it as well, you don't need to leave it to the last to see how it comes together. There always is this preview option where you kind of see, well, the Taj Mahal pic there is kind of cut there from at the top, so we sort of fix it. We see how Sway, tell your digital story, that's going to be kind of there, your start. So you could see it simultaneously while you're working there. Let's get back there to the cards. We saw Taj Mahal, for example. It was not giving us the right image we needed. All right, so you click here, you define the focus points. What is it in your presentation that you want to include here? Let's say this entire pic is important for me. You get it there, Sway takes care of it. You get there, okay guys, somebody wants to really understand where this Taj Mahal is. I told you you could embed anything. You get there, get to this embed tab, you're not doing any coding again. You just go to this embed tab. Which maps are you guys using to search out the locations? Any is good. You don't need to get to just say Microsoft every time, okay? Let's say we look here. Okay, I want to see where Taj Mahal is. What you simply need to do now, from any map, by the way, any map you go there, you just click on share, you get to this code that's already built for you, you put in there, get back to your Sway. All right, look, there are going to be these amazing people like me, I'm sure. While I was working on Sway, I clicked on the same tab to have the Google map. My Sway seems to have gone. Not really. If you, again, just go there, because it's out there in cloud, so whatever I was doing would automatically be saved all the time. This is what I was building on, though I just switched the screens, but it's very much out there still. So we were here, I just embed a card, a location. Here we go, finally, and there are all these tools that you could still do. Stack allows you to look at many pics out there. You could shuffle around. Let me just end it up with maybe a video there. So you go simply out there to this video tab. You bring in any kind of video that you might be interested. Let's say for the sake of this session, I want to search for what is Sway? Do we have some kind of demonstrations ready? All right, so I have the video here. I drag it. Guys, it's just 5-6 steps we have taken here. Now, keep comparing yourselves with the PowerPoint, the presentations that you were doing. Here, it kind of comes together. And you tell your digital story. It starts, include any multimedia that you want. I'm sure your final year project is not going to be a Taj Mahal, right? That's a functionality. You go to settings, you just play it. It keeps playing. All right, back from Sway there to now finally kind of completing the presentation here.
Nitin Pandit is Microsoft certified most valued professional as well as C# Corner MVP. His rich skills set includes developing and managing IT, web-based applications in different technologies such as C#, .NET, ADO.NET, Link to SQL, WCF, and a lot more. Nitin possesses a master's degree in computer science and has been actively contributing to the development community for its betterment. He has written more than 100 blogs, articles, and 3 ebooks on different technologies. Please, sir, do the honor to share your experience and knowledge with our students.
If someone asked you from what is cloud computing, you can tell them like by any other definitions that you have in your mind. Like cloud computing, which is used for virtual computing, that provide me a virtual space, which is used for virtual interface and infrastructure as well, and the different type of cloud services what you required in your academic details. This is very most important thing. If you like build your applications and you want to deploy them, you require at least a space, and a second thing is a storage media. Where you want to store that, where you want to build it. I believe everybody knows about Flipkart. And might be Flipkart ne aaj se like 4 saal pehle, near about 4 to 5 years back, Flipkart was announced a day, that day was big billion day. I believe sabko pata hoga. है ना? Because that day a pen drive was like 1 रुपए की बिकी थी. है ना? Everybody knows that very perfectly. And might be शायद बहुत सारे लोगों ने try भी किया था जाके book करने का. And that day एक problem हुई Flipkart के साथ कि that server was crashed. पता है किसी को? कारण क्या था, कोई मुझे बताएगा? Overloading you can say, है ना? That day Microsoft offers Flipkart that you can store your applications over over a cloud on Microsoft Azure, but there was a problem. They don't want to share their data with anyone because Flipkart had like n number of sellers. They sell their products in minimum price. If suppose that data will be shared by Amazon and any other online shopping site, so might be कि वो उसके सारे vendors ले जाए and उसको cheapest price में market में product sell करे. It might be, है ना? So that was the biggest problem जो Flipkart ने सोचा. But nowadays, अभी recently Flipkart has like a complete agreement with Microsoft Azure, and the people like completely moved their servers to Azure. Recently, Tata announced a new car which is going to be integrated with Microsoft technologies as well. ठीक है? In all over the world, more than 500 Fortune companies already switched their databases to the cloud, and even only on Microsoft Azure. Why so? Because let's see, मैं आपको सिर्फ मेरे पास बहुत कम टाइम, that's why मैं आपको बहुत general examples दूंगा. See, in real term, which is most important thing in the computing, which is scalability of hardware, which is scalability of computing. See, any hardware that have you in your like mobiles, any hardware that having you in your laptops, they are having limited number of limited size of RAM and limited size of hard disk. Suppose, let me tell you, I have my ThinkPad laptop which is having like 8 GB RAM, and let's suppose I'll say you कि मुझे एक साथ I have to run more than three IDE like Eclipse, Android Studio and Visual Studio parallelly on my machine. My machine, it's not so much capable that can handle 3 different like big IDE at the same time. So क्या मेरे laptop की RAM automatically will be increased? नहीं ना? Suppose देखो आप सब IT ही student, that's why I'm telling you some little kind of things about object-oriented programming. When you have a client and server architectures, when any client will request to a server will create their instances to proceed their request. Is that true? I believe सबने पढ़ा होगा, है ना? And every object containing memory somewhere in the like in RAM, obviously, because when my application will be initialized into memory, that create an application domain in the memory which having true behavior like stack and heap. You might be जब आप operating system पढ़ोगे I guess, है ना? Then you will see कि memory management हो सा कैसे है. वहाँ पढ़ोगे round robin algorithms are there, है ना? Short job come first, as शायद कुछ लोगों ने पढ़ा भी हो, ठीक है? So at the time you will see कि हर object एक memory लेता है. Flipkart के साथ जो crash होने की problem थी, that was the same thing. When Flipkart server got more than their capacity request, so there was no memory to create their instances to handle their references. That's why that server was get in like deadlock situations. And the same time, server was crashed, and every client have request कि उनके transactions के पैसे तो कट गए लेकिन उन्हें product के services नहीं मिले. That was the biggest issue. But if suppose we are using cloud architecture, but if suppose we are using any cloud platform, I'll tell you why Microsoft Azure. ठीक है? Any cloud platform. तो cloud platform का सबसे पहला behavior होता है which is scalability. Do you know about scalability? What is scalability? What is scalable behavior? Scalability. Any idea about scalability? कुछ भी जिसको जो भी पता है. See, scalability का जो basic फंडा है, that is absolutely. Scalability actually having 2 behaviors, scale up and scale out. Scale up behavior, that means suppose my request, my CPU is going to be users into near about 80% users. And I believe कि अगर वो 80 से ऊपर जाएगा near about in 100, so that time it वो deadlock situation में आ सकता है. So suppose if I want कि whenever my CPU goes into like near about 80% users, it's like उसकी जो भी capacity है that should be multiplied by 2 and it could be increased automatically. And when suppose we having like max 40% users of my instance, it could be decreased by default, because every service which you purchase from a cloud, हर सर्विस के आपको पैसे देने पड़ते हैं, for every service you have to pay it, है ना. So that means अगर suppose मैं एक छोटा सा एग्जांपल लेता हूँ, like एक ओला का एग्जांपल लेता हूँ. I believe सब ओला I guess सब जानते हैं. ओला पे सबसे ज़्यादा ट्रैफिक होता है, that will be on the Monday morning from 8 AM to 10 PM, है ना. Everybody wants to get a cab and everybody wants to request on an Ola, ठीक है. So every user basically open their Ola mobile applications and just put a request over there to find a cab. And in that case, Ola server has to manage all these services and all these requests from different devices, from different clients. So in that case, my server wants like a big, like a huge number of RAM power and their capacity to manage their request. But suppose if I'm telling you like in time of like अगर मैं अभी की बात करता हूँ, like near about from 12 PM to 4 PM, क्या उस टाइम पे भी सेम रश होता होगा ओला पे? नहीं ना. So this is the difference. Suppose अगर एक ओला को the people has to buy a server, तो उनकी जो capacity, suppose if I'll say that people like required minimum 224 या फिर हाँ 224 GB RAM, it's near about 224 GB RAM. But suppose if they people go in the market and buy these powerful system hardware, so there has to be like more complexity to manage them. Every time उनको manage करना, they people have like उनके पास बहुत सारे challenges होंगे to manage their security, to manage their backup, to manage their electricity and everything. And सब जबकि उसका actual use तो सिर्फ और सिर्फ Monday morning में 8 AM to 10 PM हो रहा है. So why am paying for entire month or entire year? Because I already purchased a hardware. समझ रहे हो कि वो मुझे करना क्या, मेरी प्रॉब्लम क्या कि मैंने ऑलरेडी एक हार्डवेयर परचेज कर लिया. दैट्स व्हाई आई हैव टू पे फॉर एंटायर मंथ. एंड सपोज इफ लाइक जो आपने मुझे बताया कि सपोज मेरा इतना बजट नहीं है दैट आई कैन गो टू द मार्केट एंड बाय दीज टाइप ऑफ हार्डवेयर फ्रॉम द मार्केट. सो मेरे लिए थोड़ी सी एक सिचुएशन है. बट इन द क्लाउड you have a permissions to buy a service that could be scalable according to their performance. If requests are coming, n number of requests are coming at the same time, so my cloud server can increase their capacity automatically. If you want, so I can see you the examples. Up request aa rahi hai, n number of requests aa rahi hain, so my servers are so much capable, they can increase their capacity by default. So that means you have to pay only for that time whenever you are using these kind of services. अगर सपोज दिन के बाकी टाइम में अगर आप अपनी सर्विसेज यूज नहीं कर रहे हो, सो देयर इज नो नीड टू पे फॉर दैट टाइम. उस टाइम आप सिर्फ अपने डिफॉल्ट सर्विसेज जो आपने ली थी उनका आप पे करोगे. दैट मीन्स इन हार्डवेयर देयर इज लॉट्स ऑफ रिस्ट्रिक्शंस. योर हार्डवेयर कांट इंक्रीज देयर कैपेसिटी ऑटोमेटिकली. But in cloud, you can increase your capacity whenever you want. That could be based on performance and that could be based on like scheduling, time scheduling. देखो परफॉर्मेंस दो तरह से शेड्यूल की जा सकती है. लाइक इफ आई से कि जब भी रिक्वेस्ट आ रही हैं ऑटोमेटिकली, सपोज कोई भी ऐसा इंस्टेंट टाइम है जब रिक्वेस्ट एन नंबर ऑफ रिक्वेस्ट आ रही हैं, लाइक न्यूज़ वेबसाइट्स. आप न्यूज़ वेबसाइट्स ऑलमोस्ट शायद देखते हो, है ना. लाइक जी न्यूज़ या आज तक की अगर मैं बात करता हूँ, सपोज इन केस अभी किसी भी कंट्री में कोई वर्ल्ड वार या कुछ भी कोई प्रॉब्लम बॉर्डर पे होती है, सो एवरीबडी गोज टू द न्यूज साइट एंड विल चेक आउट व्हाट इज द प्रॉब्लम एक्चुअली, है ना. सो वो एक ऐसा कंडीशन है दैट इज अ स्टेट वो जो कभी ना पहले से प्री डिफाइन नहीं हो सकती कि कब ऐसा हो सकता है. दैट इज वी कैन से दैट टाइम विच इज परफॉर्मेंस शेड्यूल वी वांट या परफॉर्मेंस स्केलेबिलिटी वी वांट, कि जब ऑटोमेटिकली बहुत सारी रिक्वेस्ट आनी ऑटोमेटिकली स्टार्ट हो, दैट कुड बी इंक्रीज बाय डिफॉल्ट. बट जैसे अगर आपको पता है फ्लिपकार्ट या कोई भी वेबसाइट जो अपने एक स्पेसिफिक प्रोडक्ट एक स्पेसिफिक टाइम पे लॉन्च करते हैं कि रात को 12 बजे सेल स्टार्ट हो गया, बहुत सारे मोबाइल फोन के एग्जांपल्स आपने देखे होंगे, विच इज नोन एज शेड्यूल्ड स्केलेबिलिटी, कि हम उस टाइम पे चाहते हैं कि लाइक फ्रॉम नाइट टू नाइट 12 AM to morning 6 AM my server capacity should be increased automatically, क्योंकि वो हमें पता है आज रात से सेल स्टार्ट होगी. So these kind of stuff we can say that this is a like predefined schedule scalability. And एक होती है जो by default कभी भी accidentally कभी भी आ सकती है. So we call it like a performance schedule, कि जब भी मेरी ऑटोमेटिकली मेरे सर्वर्स की रिक्वायरमेंट बढ़ रही है तो मेरे सर्वर की कैपेसिटी ऑटोमेटिकली बढ़ जाए. दिस इज द बिगेस्ट प्रॉब्लम जो हार्डवेयर में जो फिजिकल हार्डवेयर सर्वर्स हम खरीदते हैं उनमें पॉसिबल नहीं है टू एक्सपेंड द कैपेबिलिटीज, टू एक्सपेंड द बिहेवियर्स, टू एक्सपेंड द मेमोरी. बट इट कुड बी पॉसिबल इन द क्लाउड, इट कुड बी पॉसिबल इन एनी अदर क्लाउड सर्विसेज. नाउ व्हाई वी आर यूजिंग माइक्रोसॉफ्ट क्लाउड? Actually, Microsoft gives you like, as you know, how many number of students are here like who knows about Microsoft.NET or C Sharp? How many number of students are here who knows about C Sharp? Please, I'm not going to ask any single question. And just please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll tell you, C Sharp आज world की सबसे, like you can say, एक robust programming language है जहाँ रह के आप on a single platform you can build any kind of application, whatever it's Windows, desktop, like universal apps, mobile applications or web applications, cloud services and gaming as well. समझ रहे हो, by the same language. Microsoft built C Sharp and C Sharp have so much user friendly environment. अगर तुम में से किसी ने भी कभी भी सिंगल कभी भी एक टाइम पे भी किसी ने एक सिंगल एप्लीकेशन बना के देखी हो विद C Sharp लैंग्वेज, माइट बी यूल सी विजुअल स्टूडियो आई गेस, एंड आपने शायद देखा देयर इज अ प्रोसेस बिहेवियर व्हिच इज ड्रैग एंड ड्रॉप टू गेट माय कंट्रोल्स फ्रॉम टूल्स एंड वी कैन बिल्ड माय एप्लीकेशंस. And every industry goes to the Visual Studio because Visual Studio have so much intelligence power over there. Microsoft को Visual Studio बनाने का सबसे पहला काम क्या था? To make your development it's so much easy and so much user-friendly environment. That's why Microsoft, if I'm telling you, Microsoft gives you Azure platform to make your cloud computing so easy as like your development which is done by Visual Studio. Already lots of industry are using Visual Studio to use it to to making their applications, to make their cloud services, to make their any other platforms. Is that true? That's why Microsoft gives you a cloud platform. See, if I'm telling you about Microsoft Azure, so what is Microsoft Azure? Microsoft Azure is just nothing like आप उसे एक अगर अलग से कोई definition देते तो वो गलत होगा. But Microsoft just a platform to use like cloud behaviors, which is done by Microsoft. And in all over the world, more than 500 Fortune companies are already using Microsoft Azure. Even your तुम में से कितने लोग यहाँ पे Android use करते हैं? I believe 60% से ज़्यादा लोग Android use कर रहे होंगे, है ना? More than 60%. There is a Google Drive. This is a default behavior of Google that provided by Google Cloud. Okay. If you are using Apple, there is a behavior which is iCloud. कितने लोग use कर रहे हैं iCloud? But there's nothing which is provided by Apple known as cloud. So जो iCloud हमें मिल रहा है, what is that? This is indirectly which is using by Microsoft Azure services, which is indirectly mapped by iCloud as well. If I'm telling you, Microsoft Azure is just a cloud platform which was started in year 2008 and it was completely released into the market in 2010. That time Microsoft announced that as Windows Azure. But finally Microsoft renamed it as named Microsoft Azure in 2014. As you can see in the definition, and you can just find out on Wikipedia as well. Is that okay? If I'm telling you the behavior of cloud, let me show you. May I have like internet or anything else, please, if I can, or I'll show you the real. Just because I have limited time, that's why मैं सिर्फ इस छोटे टाइम में आपको कुछ दिखाना चाहता हूँ. That could be real, so that you can start working and you can start writing your code. And you can participate into Amazon Cup as well, and you can store your data into cloud, and that will be more beneficial for you. See, after login into Microsoft Azure, you might be get two type of dashboard to using Microsoft Azure services. Let's see. This was the first behavior that was announced by Microsoft, that known as Microsoft Windows Azure that time. And nowadays we are using this URL which is known as portal.azure.com. You might be using this URL because Microsoft going to be switched off like multiple services from the previous environment. But this is very easy to be understand for the beginners, to be very easiest for the students only. They want to getting start with Microsoft Azure. You can directly go on that URL which is known as manage.windowsazure.com. Else you can find out your URL azure.microsoft.com. Just create your account over there. Then you will see this portal, this behavior, and might be this. We have two type of dashboard. This is very simple to be understand for everyone because this is only for beginners. Microsoft already switched like multiple services from here. Like if I want to use web apps, so Microsoft only told that you have to go on the portal. बहुत सिंपल एक एग्जांपल है, मैं तुम्हें एक बहुत सिंपल सा एग्जांपल दिखाता हूँ. सपोज मेरे पास मेरे एक फॉर्म पे एक छोटा सा पेज है, कोई भी एक HTML पेज है, I'll show you. Like I believe everybody knows here like HTML, and I'm just going to use very simple text of HTML over here. HTML and head and body. And inside my body, suppose I am just giving you a simplest example ever. BG colors might be, तुमने सबने कॉलेज में सबसे पहला टैग यही लगाया हो, और इससे बाद में हेलो वर्ल्ड एप्लीकेशंस एंड वेलकम टू माय फर्स्ट वेब एप्लीकेशन है ना. लेट्स सी, सपोज एक्वा, जस्ट गिविंग अ कलर एंड अ हेडिंग व्हिच इज हेलो. सबसे पहला प्रोग्राम जो आई बिलीव सबने लिखा होगा है ना, एंड यू कांट अंडरस्टैंड, मतलब यू कांट फॉरगेट दैट फीलिंग व्हेन यू राइट दिस प्रोग्राम इनटू सी प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज है ना, एंड दैट वाज कंपाइल्ड सक्सेसफुली विदाउट एनी एरर्स है ना. That time you have guts, feelings that you are already built a software engineer. ठीक है. Suppose I'll save this application or anywhere to my desktop like index.htm. That's it. ठीक है. This is a very simple text. I want to make it live over Microsoft Azure Cloud. See, you have this portal where you can get any kind of Microsoft services. Actually, cloud computing is divided into 3 parts. As you told me, as infrastructure, software, and a platform. Like, if I'm telling you, like, we only have IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. Let's suppose, मेरी जो वो वेबसाइट है जो मैंने अभी डेस्कटॉप पे बनाई थी एक इंडेक्स के नाम से, आई सपोज कि वो एप्लीकेशन सपोज जावा में अब बनी हुई है या .NET में बनी हुई है. सो वी रिक्वायर्ड अ जावा प्लेटफॉर्म ओवर देयर वेयर वी वांट टू होस्ट इट, और वी वांट लाइक अ PHP और Python environment where we want to host it. I'll just going to live this application in max 5 minutes with Cloud Azure, and you can check it out this website from your mobile devices, whatever you are using, Android or iOS, whatever. Let's see. Suppose this is my Microsoft Azure portal. There's a link button which is known as new button. I believe everybody can see that button. New. I'm going there and click just on new. There will be multiple services to find. You have to just go on the compute. There will be an option which is known as web app. Web app just give you an empty directory where you can put any kind of website and you can set their environments and then set their like scalability behavior accordingly as you want. Let's see. Suppose there is compute behavior or web plus mobile. You can go. There will be the first option which is known as web apps. Might be सबको दिख रहा है. Just click there. You have to set a default name. See, Microsoft is one of like single company in the world that start their 3 data centers in India. Microsoft से अलग ऐसी कोई भी वर्ल्ड में या कोई भी ऐसी कंपनी नहीं है जिसने इंडिया में अपने डेटा सेंटर्स बनाए और उतने ज़्यादा. इवन आई गेस आपने कंपनी का नाम सुना, Fujitsu सुना है? Fujitsu also going to start their cloud, but even they didn't have any single data centers in their India, and जिनके पास सबसे ज़्यादा maximum number of employees India से हैं. They didn't have any kind of data centers in India, but Microsoft is the single one. They have 3 data centers in India and working data centers in Central, West, and South India as well. तो आपके यहाँ पे free subscription आएगा, that will be for 1 month. Then you have to select your region. From which region you want to store your any web app. Suppose I'll select Central India to store my applications in the data centers, and finally just I'll click to create. Within a seconds, that application will be created by default. Request करी, किसी का खुला, ठीक है, this is okay, open it. So I'm just going to post or submit my website over there. See, मेरी वेबसाइट मेरे डेस्कटॉप पे पड़ी है. I'll just go there and open my desktop and we'll find out my index.html, copy, and we'll paste that into same folder. Just refresh that request again. Got it? This was the power of Microsoft application to just host this application just within a seconds.